Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my university update for my year 4 semester 1. Now, I've done these videos twice a year since I started university, obviously because there are 2 semesters, and this is number 7 of 8, and that is crazy. I feel like every time that I've sat down to film this video, I've expressed how mind-blowing it is that it's already at this stage, but currently as I'm filming this, I am in my last semester of uni, and that is petrifying. Nonetheless, we're going to get into it today. I'm going to talk you through my first semester of 4th year, what I got up to, what the course was like, the assessments that I did, and then my overall grade. If you guys want to see any of my previous ones to get an idea of what I did throughout 1st, 2nd and 3rd year, I will leave them linked down below so you can go and have a look if you want. But for now, let's get into the video. So for those of you that are unaware, I'm currently in my 4th year of studying primary education at the University of Aberdeen. It is a Scottish degree, therefore it's a 4-year course. All degrees in Scotland are pretty much 4 years, which means that this year is my last. I am just also going to say I do have my little notes here. I always make notes for videos like these just so I don't forget anything, because I know that a lot of you guys watching this video watch it to get an idea of what's to come in your own degrees, so I don't want to miss anything out. So this year, unlike previous years, we actually only had one course while we were on campus. That course was called Learning and Teaching in Schools, and this was slightly different to previous years because in the past we've always had at least 2 or 3 different courses on the go at the one time, whereas this year everything that we were learning was all to do with this one course. We got one grade for this semester rather than a few different ones. So yeah, that sun is trying to come out and it's in a really awkward place. This could cause some problems. So I guess a good place to start is just a kind of general overview of what our semester was like. This semester we started off with 5 weeks in uni, so we were getting taught at university through lectures and tutorials. We then had a reading week, then an assessment week, and then we went off on a 6-week placement, and then we came back for our final assessment week. So generally speaking, this was the least amount of like teaching time that we'd had so far in terms of us being taught through lectures and tutorials. We were actually only at uni for 5 weeks. But in those 5 weeks, our timetable was a lot busier, both in terms of what we had experienced on our course previously and in comparison to what other 4th year university students normally get taught. Generally speaking, at least at Aberdeen University, when you go into 4th year there's a lot less contact time and a lot more independent study, whereas for us we had a lot more like contact time with tutors through lectures, tutorials, workshops, things like that. Also, another big change last semester from the previous ones were that it was the longest placement block that we were going to be doing. Up until this point, the longest block that we'd had was a 5-week block in semester 2 of 3rd year, whereas in semester 1 of 4th year we were going out for 6 weeks continuously. So that was a little bit of a change as well. I'm starting to get really warm. This room's really annoying me. I think of all the uni rooms I've had so far, this one has been definitely the worst to try and film in. The light just does not do any favours. Anyway, onto the course content. I'd say generally speaking our uni timetable was Monday to Thursday, roughly around 9 till 2, 3, 4 o'clock, just depending on the day, which is a lot for a 4th year uni student. As I said, normally you don't get that much contact time. So the way that our course was kind of structured is on Monday, that was our day of professional studies. This was where we looked kind of more generally at broader issues within education, different things that might be useful when we are teaching our own class. So a few things that I've noted down here are difference, inclusion, planning, behaviour, assessment, and these were all things that we'd looked at previously in the course throughout 1st, 2nd, 3rd year, but we were looking at them in more detail and looking at the more like practical implications of them in the classroom. I feel like a lot of what I've said about this course in the past is that you can't really see how it's going to impact you in the classroom. Like, you know why it will be important, but you don't know how to stop a situation from occurring or how to make a situation better. Whereas this semester we kind of looked into that a little bit more. We looked at little practical ways of making inclusion more of a reality in every classroom. We looked at more practical ways of implementing different methods of assessment, and that was definitely really useful. So that was our Monday, and for the other 3 days that we were in uni it was a lot more curriculum subject based. We had one day with a literacy / English focus, one day with a numeracy / mathematics focus, and then we had a day that was kind of just built up with different workshops from things like science, health and well-being, music, outdoor learning, all other areas of the curriculum. And these sessions were perhaps some of my favourite. They were far more practical than anything that we'd ever done before. We were learning lesson plans and different activities that we could implement in the classroom, and a lot more kind of classroom management strategies built into that as well. So definitely I'd say that semester 1 of 4th year has been my favourite semester so far. I feel like it has been a lot more practical, and I've actually been able to use some of what I've learned when I then went out on placement. So that's what filled our 5 weeks of uni, but before we actually went out on placement we had our reading week and our first assessment week. And the way that the assessment was structured this semester was slightly different to previous years. We had one 30 credit assessment which was based all around inclusive practice and like social justice, inclusion in the classroom, all that malarkey. And basically we had our reading week after our 5 weeks of uni. We then had our first assessment week, during which we wrote our 2,000 word literature review based around this subject. But this assessment was formative, so we didn't get a grade for it. We got it marked and like looked over by who was going to be our marker for the assessment, but it wasn't given a specific grade. We then got feedback on it and we had to use that when we were writing our actual assessment. I feel like the way that they arranged this assessment was quite confusing, and me trying to explain it right now is probably just gonna like, but it's probably gonna change by the time that you do it as well, so I wouldn't worry too much. So after we had written and submitted our literature review, so our first formative assessment, we then went off on our 6-week placement. So this was to a new school, a new class, an entirely new situation, and I really enjoyed this placement. Now it was meant to be an upper stages placement, but I was put into a primary 3-4 class, so it was kind of more somewhere in the middle, which I am kind of gutted about because I feel like I definitely prefer older years. I would have loved to have experienced a primary 6 or 7 classroom. I feel like that is just a lot more up my street. But alas, I got put into a primary 3-4 classroom and I honestly can't complain. My support teacher was lovely this year. She could not do enough to help me and she was always there when I needed help, which I did need quite a lot of because this class was pretty tricky. I'd say in terms of additional support needs and behaviour management, this placement definitely challenged me the most. There were days that I came home crying and that I just didn't want to do it anymore, but I always knew that I had that support there, and that makes the world of a difference. During this placement there was a lot more of a focus placed on teaching continuous days into weeks rather than just doing a lesson a day or a few lessons a day. Basically by the time that I came to the end of this placement I was teaching for like 2 weeks continuously, which basically meant that I was the class teacher. I was planning everything, doing everything. The class teacher was out doing other bits and bobs around the school. So I feel like I've definitely come on a lot. And again, on this placement we had to keep a placement folder up to date. I've done a video flicking through my previous placement folder if you want to go and see what kind of things I include. And then it was assessed by a tutor visit where someone from the university comes into the class and observes you, and it was also assessed by the class teacher's final report on you. If you want a little more detail about the kind of assessment side of things, primarily the tutor visit, I spoke about that a bit more in my previous university update, so definitely head along to that one if you want to see a bit more of like the ins and outs of that. But yeah, that placement was a success. I passed my tutor visit and my teacher report. Cannot complain, onwards and upwards. I'm heading off on another placement pretty soon and that will be my last one. What? I feel like this full 4 years of my life has just disappeared and I don't know where it's gone. So after that 6-week block we finished on the 6th of December and we then had our final assessment week at uni. So we literally finished on the Friday and it was like straight into essay writing, which was a little bit mean, I'm not gonna lie. And by this point we had received our feedback from our formative literature review, and we then had to use that literature review to build a kind of case study around something that we'd done on placement. This was a 3,000 word kind of investigation analysis type situation with the literature review kind of embedded into it. I'll pop the essay question up right now if you want to have a look at it, but it's a lot to go into, a lot to unpick in this type of video when that's really not what we're going to be here to look for. But yeah, so I submitted that assessment on the 12th of December and recently just got my grade back, which is why I've been waiting to film this video, and for that assessment I got a B2, so I am very chuffed. I'd say that I definitely struggled quite a bit with this one. I really struggled to understand what they were expecting from us, and I feel like a lot of people in my course were in the same situation. No one really knew what was going on, and it got to the point that I was like, do you know what, I'm just going to submit it to get out of my life. At this point I knew that I had enough credits to graduate, so I was like, do you know what, if I get like the worst mark ever, I don't care, I just want it out of my life. So I submitted it, and to get a B2 back, I'm very chuffed with that. And with that comes the end of my first semester of 4th year. I suppose to kind of round it off, after the new year we came back and we went straight back to that same school for 3 weeks, and that was when we did the bulk of our continuous teaching, and that's also when we got given our teacher report. Like calendar wise that's kind of eating into second semester, but I definitely include that as first semester because that placement was all kind of one. But yeah, that is my 4th year first semester update. As I am sat here currently, I am halfway through my only 3 weeks of uni this semester. What? And I'm getting ready to head off on my last placement, but you'll obviously hear a lot more about that in my final one of these videos, what the actual... As always, if you guys do have any questions about the course or the assessments, placement, leave them down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. I know that a lot of you watch these videos to get a little insight into what might come next. So if you are at uni, if you're currently out on a placement right now, I hope it's all going well. I wish you the best of luck. And yeah, I'm going to head away now. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you again soon with another video. Goodbye!